action. Rules that keep things going smoothly and fairly. Rules that help us get where we're going. Help us work together, play together, and live together. Of course, in small groups, we sometimes get along without rules.
But there aren't any loud noises, just the sounds of working. We call these work sounds. Listen.
When many of us play together, rules make the game. Rules help us play fair with each other, so all can enjoy the game. Rules that apply equally to all. It's up to each one of us to know the rules and follow them.
Why do you suppose this room is so quiet? Perhaps we can learn from the teacher.
At New York's Madison Square Garden, a city college quintet faces five fast and fancy red boots from the University of Oregon. It's the opening contest of an intersectional doubleheader, and New York draws 2 points worth of first blood.
And you know, we have found that knowing when to be quiet is a part of growing up.
16,000 fans watch the boys from the Pacific Coast as they try to stem the onslaught of City College fever. But it's all over when Silverstein shoots off the hardwood, decades the ball, and the ball game for CCNY 38-36.
Because a quiet room helps all of us learn.
How do you do it?
Well, each of us knows how to work quietly. That's very important.
But the evening sport is a long way from the locker room. In the second game, a team of Northwestern Wildcats is matched against St. John's University of Brooklyn. The lads from Illinois are off to a springboard start when Bob Coble eases Allen into the basket to take the lead.
Do you think you could walk this quietly? Listen to this work sound.
But tribal warfare comes to the gymnasium as the St. John's Indians retaliate with 2 points. From now on, the game is touch and go, with 10 men helping to get it there. A beautiful display of teamwork, and Northwestern gets in the number column with sharp shooting Bob Coble doing the honors.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn the Game, where you learn if you got an F for effort. And we want to wish you a Merry Christmas. This is the day after Christmas. And we have some Christmas wishes for USA basketball in respect to the culture of how people approach it, amongst other things. But first, before we get into that, welcome, Politicus Rex. How are you, sir?
All right.
I see the Christmas spirit is still in you.
Hey, only 364 more days till Christmas.
Yep. So what's
Counting
the
down.
yeah?
You have 5 kids and see how excited you are the day after Christmas.
Yeah, that's fair. So, for you, what's the biggest wish you have for USA basketball culture? What's one thing you would change or improve, or anything of the like? What would you like to see? What is your Christmas wish for it?
I can't say get rid of everything, right? So probably it's too late to do anything with this generation. So revamp the AAU system completely. Start at the groundwork. Start at the bottom. Put the emphasis back on school teams.
How would you do that?
Get rid of to ban college coaches from the AAU. They're the ones that turned it into a meat factory in the first place. AAU has been around for 100 freaking years. How college coaches used to work is you had assistant coaches, some of them, all they did was travel around the country watching high school players and recruiting. The famous Hall of Fame coach Roy Williams, he was the North Carolina assistant that recruited Michael Jordan. Dean Smith never went to see Michael Jordan in high school. Roy Williams did. He's the one that kept contacting the families, having to sit down. So he was recruiting. Then Dean Smith got involved. Because back then, the assistant coaches would go all over the country, see all the, if the 3 top basketball players in the country were in New York, North Carolina, and Los Angeles, then that's where the assistant coaches had to go watch them play in their high school games. And then you'd have the summer camps. But there were rules to when and how much college coaches could communicate. Different. You remember back when you probably heard, different schools would get recruiting violations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What eventually happened once the college coaches started becoming multimillionaires in the 80s, when the college basketball is about the coach, pro basketball is about the player, college basketball is about the coach. So you had these coaches in the 80s that had this immense power, and they got the schedule, the recruiting, when you were allowed to recruit, how you're allowed to recruit. All of this got changed, got revamped to where all they would do is, instead of doing all that traveling, they cut out 90% of the recruitment travel, and they would just go to the AAU tournament, the National AAU tournament. They would just go there because all your best players are going to be there. Once the college coaches, who had the power, are only going to this place to see the talent, then you start at the lower level, you start having kids run around. You can be a great high school player in the backwoods of Tennessee. If you're on a 1A, 2A high school team, the coaches aren't coming around to recruit anymore. You've got to get on one of those AAU teams to get to the AAU tournament so they can see you. So now AAU, instead of being team oriented, is now individual oriented. You got they basically become all-star teams. And they get together the best talent, and then they go, and then it's a show off. You're sitting there, you got 10, 20 college coaches sitting there watching you play. It becomes a tryout where every player is just trying to impress what he can do on the court to get a scholarship. And that's the absolute opposite of how it should be.
No, I agree. I think that's a major problem, and you broke down really some of the foundational reasons of how that mentality comes to be in respect to the AAU tournaments and the travel, where it's not as indicative on an assistant coach scouting these players. Now they're all just here at one time at one place at this massive tournament, and in ways you got less time to show off your skills. So why would you not want to show off your skills when you have the top coaches in the country there, or at least their top scouts there? So it's something that I think, I agree, should be done. Implement some violations, or however you want to put it, have some regulation towards how these things occur. Maybe put it all back on the schools, like you're implying, versus the AAU. I don't know how that could go about, but what's up?
It used to be, back when I was a kid, which for those of you out there, we're talking 1970s, early 80s. When I was growing up and playing, you would have guys that were bench players on state champion high school teams would get college scholarships because the coaches knew that the kid understood how to win. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to win. So they would lower level, like you'd have your star player would go to a Division I school, you know, you'd have maybe one or two players would get to like Division II, something like that. And then you might have like another couple of players end up playing NAIA or something like that. But they'd have a future in the sport. You know, and the reason they got looked at was because the coaches paid attention to the school teams. You know, so you could see a bench player come off the bench and for, 14, 20 minutes a game, which is actually a lot in a high school game, just give it everything and you see the effort. And then you talk to the coach, mention to the high school coach about him. Yeah, he's a real player. He's a real gutsy guy. And then you find out, well, he's also a straight A student and he comes from a solid family and and it's like, wow, this is a really good kid. This is a safe investment, and then that kid ends up getting on a college team, getting a chance to play college ball because he was on a winner, because winning mattered back then. Now you can sit there and I've done this before and I'll do it with you now. You have people that you can sit there and lately, like newer players, this generation of player, and you can ask, like a big KD fan, well, what'd KD do in high school? Right? And then they'll be able to tell you, oh, he's high school player of the year. He averaged this and that and all that. Okay. What was his high school team's record? They don't know. Because they don't care. Yeah. But what's the one thing you know about Kareem's high school record?
What, he was one game or?
Yeah, well, he actually won. He actually lost 12, but that's in 4 years.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. And then at UCLA, well, he lost 3 games at UCLA.
Yep.
And it's just funny. They knew about his winning. The reason he's considered the greatest high school player ever, greatest college player ever, is because of the winning. Because that's what was emphasized back then. Winning, because it's a game. You played a game to win. And nowadays, no one even knows what these guys did back in high school. And most of them, what they did for their, usually at this point, 1 year in college.
Yeah.
No one knows. No one cares. But, did you see that move he did last night? Did you see that YouTube clip? That's what they remember. It's all about clicks and just the highlight reel. There was a highlight video of Steph the other day where he hits threes in a relatively short space, and he's like dancing around and he's doing all this stuff. And I look in the comments, and the comments from, oh my God, he's greatest. He did this. He's just playing with them. He's in it and all this. And it's like, if you actually Google and you look at the box score, he was like 3 for 9 at that point on threes.
Yeah.
But you see, the highlight only showed the 3 he made. They didn't show the 6 he missed.
Yeah.
And then he was like something like 9 of 19 or 6 of 19 or something like that overall. And it's like, okay, he was having an below average game.
Yeah.
But they only show the highlights of the 3 he hit and him dancing around. So everyone in the comments was talking about how awesome he was that game. It was like he was crap that game.
Yeah, I always find it interesting too, and some of the guys that get lauded nowadays particularly with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. And it's not to say that he's not a great player and that he isn't skillful, but if you look at a lot of his box score stats, his field goal percentage is not very high. He scores a lot because he's able to get to the line, which is still a great talent and skill to have. But people think outside of getting to the line that he's a particularly, and again, in comparison to me, it's don't take it this way, but he's not as polished as a lot of these other guys are on being able to score his shots. And people are like, oh, he's such a great scorer. He's the first scorer since Michael Jordan to win a scoring title in the finals, MVP kind of stuff. And it's not that it's not fantastic what he's doing. He's just not a particularly high efficiency scorer on top of it. And again, what matters is he's scoring, but when he's not getting to the line and he shoots bad, it's not good for the team.
Well, I mean, but this is the thing. This is why basketball has such a huge following, but at the same time, very few that follow it actually understand what they're looking at. This morning I was arguing with someone online. There was a poll about who was a better defender. And it was like John Stockton, Gary Payton, and I don't remember who the others were. And now, I'm not saying that Stockton was the better at defense than Gary Payton, but what bothered me was Stockton was actually last in the voting.
Yeah.
Okay. John Stockton's the all-time leader in steals. By a lot. A few thousand. Right? Or no, for steals, it's a many hundred. For assists, it's a few thousand.
Yeah.
But so I'm not saying he's better than Gary Payton at defense, but to have him last in the poll is just so obtuse. And then you had guys saying, well, just because he got a lot of steals, that's not indicative of there are plenty of high school coaches and, that'll tell you there's more to defense than steals. Yeah, well, maybe that's why they're coaching high school and not college or pro. Okay. Steals are turnovers. You can block a shot. It doesn't mean it's a turnover. Right? The other team can still grab it, or if you block it out of bounds, you're just giving it right back to them. But a steal is a turnover every time, period. If you have 3,265 steals in your career, like John Stockton, that means you took away 3,265 possessions from the other team.
Yeah.
And in basketball, it's not like football. In basketball, you play against the guy that's covering you. Even if you do a switch, it's still the same guys, right? Unless you sub out, it's the same guys. So if John Stockton is out here doing what he does, getting 13, 14 assists a game, you're trying to stop him. You're working your butt off. You're running through those picks. You're dealing with Karl Malone elbows. You're doing all that stuff. You're trying to stay with Stockton, not let him get to that elbow. And you're doing all that, and you're burning all that energy. That means your offensive energy is reduced. That's just a fact. Nobody, is the Energizer Bunny. Everyone gets tired. So by being, it's the old saying, the best defense is a great offense. Well, John Stockton is one of the greatest offensive players of all time. He's the all-time leader in assists. If you're the other team's point guard, every game, every coach told their point guard the same thing. You need to slow him down. So that's what you're trying to do, right? So that takes away from your offensive game. And then you get in foul trouble trying to slow him down. Now you're on the bench. That's how a great defensive player works. See, that's what a lot of fans don't think. They just sit there and, blocks or defensive rebounds, steals, those are all part of it. Taking charges, all that's part of it. But you can play great defense when you have the ball. There were many games where I was playing against a guy that was much better than me. And my task was to try and limit his offensive production. The way I usually did that was going right at him when I had the ball, force him into making fouls. I ended up with more turnovers because I was forcing the issue. I ended up with a couple of offensive fouls, but most times I would get him in foul trouble and he'd sit on the bench. I've done my defensive job. My guy ain't scoring. You know why? Because he's sitting on the bench. That's part of defense. Basketball is a really intertwined sport where it's not just X's and O's. It's not chess or checkers. If you played chess with 16 queens on each side, that's basketball.
Yeah.
You know?
The one thing that I find to be if you had to pin down the most important thing you can do in the game of basketball, from my perspective, is to have possession of the ball, or more possessions, not particularly length of time, but to have more possessions than the opposite team. And I think the two stats that really represent how effective you are at doing that is rebounds and then steals. So if you're able to get a lot of rebounds and a lot of steals, that means you have more possessions, which means you have more opportunities to score the ball on top of it. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't put steals as number 2. Rebounds, we both agree in. That is the most important thing. Rebounds. Rebounds.
I'm talking off the concept of having more possessions. That's rebounds. I'm saying steals as an auxiliary.
Defensive rebounds. The other team gets one shot and out every time. Just one shot and out. They're done. You get more possessions. But steals, I would put third. Okay.
What do you put second?
What do you say?
No.
What do you put second? Sorry, hold on.
No, I was listening to your friend. I thought
No, they commandeered my spot. His friend came out, and now they're on the front porch.
Broke my concentration.
Yeah.
God, what was I saying?
What's the second most important stat?
Fouls.
Yeah,
Getting the other team in foul trouble. That's in the because of modern rules. The sooner you can get into the bonus, the free throw bonus, the team that gets in, if you go and you check the statistics, the team that gets in the free throw bonus first wins over 80% of the games.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're getting free points with the clock stopped, and it's not just a one. Like, you see, if you're playing, you're trying to outscore the other team, right?
Yeah.
This guy makes a 2, you make a 2. You make a 2, they make a 2. You make a 2, and then you say, okay, well, you make a 2, I make a 3. So they come back and you're going like this, right? But with fouls, if I'm in the bonus, or I get an and 1, not only do I get to up my point total, but now you're going backwards because there's a limit on how many fouls you can get before you're gone.
Yeah.
So that's why fouls are so very important. After rebounds and possessions, which getting a rebound is the best way of getting possession, because to get a rebound, that means what just happened.
They shot the ball and missed.
Exactly. They shot the ball and missed. So 0 chance of points for them. You've now controlled. Now you now have a possession. They're over. So now you can get a foul and get 1 point. You can score a 2-point goal. You can get a 3-point, or in a very rare occasion, you can get 4 points on a possession. Fouled making a 3. So you have the ability to go up every possession that you grab a defensive rebound. You get the advantage. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what coaches will talk about, the ebb and flow of a game. The way you crack a team's back, the way you break a team makes a run. The way you stop that run is you get 3 stops in a row and you score 3 times in a row. All momentum for the other team is gone. And that's how you win games. We got a question. I'm sorry, I don't know who Usyk is.
Usyk
You know who that is?
Yes, he's the current undisputed, or I think he dropped the belt because for scheduling purposes, but he is the undisputed heavyweight champion right now. He's a southpaw. He used to be the cruiserweight undisputed champion, undefeated. I think he's a 2-time Olympic champion. Or at least he's an Olympic gold champion at least once. And then, but yeah, smaller than George Foreman, but he's a southpaw. Very crafty though, very good on his feet, very quick. Creates a lot of angles, gets a lot of punches. He's beat all the giants of today's boxing. So, but yeah.
Well, George Foreman, his ability was he could take punishment and he had that huge punch, but he was top heavy. I just watched a video this morning, as a matter of fact, that was very telling, that I'd always know. You know how you like you'll hear a statistic or a point of view that you had never heard before, but as soon as you hear it, you think, well, you kind of knew that, you just never really thought about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the guy was mentioning about when Muhammad Ali beat George Foreman. Everyone is like, well, it's big George Foreman. Everyone thought he was going to beat up on Ali. But if you actually look at it, Foreman wasn't bigger than Ali.
Yeah.
Ali was actually a big guy. He moved very fluid, so people forget that. He was as big as George Foreman.
Yeah.
But Ali had really strong legs. If you look at that fight, Ali's legs are bigger than Foreman's. He had that really solid base. So he was able to take shots. Where Foreman was top heavy. Big shoulders, big chest, big arms, smaller legs. Carrying that weight around, chasing someone around the ring, he tired out faster. And he lost his stable base. Once he loses his stable base, you lose punching power. And that's the rope-a-dope. That's the whole point of it. Ali knew exactly what he was doing. He was making Foreman punch himself out. Then he went after him.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it till, I knew it. It's one of those things you know, but like I said, you don't really like proclaim it until you see someone else bring it up and you're like, well, yeah. It's like hiding in plain sight type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know Usyk, but I would say the main thing to do if he has a reputation of taking down bigger guys, big punchers, then I would say he would probably have the advantage over Foreman. But Foreman still is one of those guys that it only takes one shot. The question a lot of times is, does he get that one shot? Does he get that one clean shot in? Because it can change everything.
I think it'd be a good fight. For what I've seen a few of the old George Foreman fights, pretty much the classic ones, the Joe Frazier 1 and 2, the Ali one. I saw the one where he fought the 5 guys, I think, back to back. A couple other fights. Some of his Michael Moore fight, his Evander Holyfield fight. Anyway,
Yeah.
different parts of his career. I think Usyk, he kind of, I don't want to say he's exactly like this guy, but kind of similar careers with Evander Holyfield, a cruiserweight, a smaller heavyweight. Usyk's about 6'3", 220, so about what George Foreman was in his prime back then when the heavyweights were a lot smaller than they are today. So he is a southpaw. Now, I know I don't know enough about George Foreman's fight history, but I know southpaws are typically tricky for right-handed guys.
Mhm.
And he's got a reputation for being swift on his feet. So he's a dancer actually too. A lot of this Ukrainian dance stuff, he's famous for practicing that when he boxes. He's switches his feet well after punches to be able to get into different angles and throw those power punches. So I would love to say George Foreman. I think if maybe if older George Foreman fought him with his prime body, that maybe he would be able to defeat Usyk just because he had so much power.
Yeah.
But I would, if I had to say, I'd have to probably say Usyk because he has defeated everyone. He's fought huge guys, huge punchers. So yeah, I would guess that, but who knows? We'll never know.
I'm picking Bone Crusher Smith.
Yeah.
Now you think it's a joke, but I'm serious.
Why Bone Crusher Smith? In
Because
respect
he's the
to
only
who?
heavyweight champion of the world that was from North Carolina, and I met him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And when he made a fist, his fist was literally as big as my head.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, Jesus Christ, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. I was in a doctor's office. I think I had like a sprained ankle or something, probably playing basketball. And he was retired at the time. It was after he had lost to Tyson, and he was getting a charity together, organizing a charity here in North Carolina. And he was there at the doctor's office to speak to the doctor about the charity. And the lady, the receptionist, and it was a full waiting room, and no one in there had any clue who he was except me.
Yeah.
And I was like a kid at Disneyland. As soon as he walked in, I looked at his face and I knew exactly who he was. I was like, oh my God. And he was so huge. I mean, so unbelievably huge. He'd make Wes Unseld look skinny.
Yeah.
And it was just like, the only open seat, they made him sit in the waiting room with the sick people.
Yeah.
That's when I knew, okay, the lady at the reception desk has no clue who he is. Because how do you make the heavyweight champion of the world sit in the waiting room with the sick people?
Yeah.
But the only seat was next to me. So I got to talk to him for about 5 minutes. I guess I got to talk to him literally until the very second that the message got to the doctor that, hey, Bone Crusher Smith. Mr. Smith is waiting in the waiting room. And because then they called him and told him he could wait in the doctor's office, his actual office. That's where he should have went to begin with. But it afforded me the chance to talk to him for, 5, 6 minutes. He was very gracious, very polite, very nice,
Yeah, I work with this one guy who's huge, 6'7", probably like 320 pounds, if I had to guess. I'm about 260, 270, and he is just bigger than me. He's got to be at least 320. Not to my knowledge, any sort of combat sports kind of guy, but guy is huge. Never talked to him if he played basketball or did any sort of combat sports. I know for being a normal tall person, before it's you get to that freak level of tall, like above 6'6". I know people kind of, you can kind of get the typical questions. Do you ever play basketball? I'm sure he gets that all the time for random questions for small talk, but I just never asked him about it.
Yeah, I got a guy where I work. He's 6'7", 400 pounds,
Well,
and it's just he's so just ridiculously strong.
yeah.
I mean, the stuff see him do is just in the warehouse is just comical.
Did you decide to go back to work?
I think I am because I wanted to try and lose 8 pounds during my time off, and I've actually gained 9.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just have no discipline. When the only way I can like get in phenomenal shape is to actually go work for someone else. When I'm left to my own devices, I just sit around and talk to you and play with my kids. I don't exercise. So yeah, I got to go back to work in January so I can whoop myself back into shape before spring.
Yeah.
100-mile race in March. So gotta get ready for it.
Yeah. I have a Christmas wish for
What's that?
USA basketball culture. I want people to start appreciating and playing more in the post like they used to. It seems to be a dying art.
Well, if you remember, I told you when we were talking about when Wemby was, I don't even think Wemby was actually started his rookie season yet. And we're talking about like Holmgren and Wemby and all of these, all these big, tall, 7-foot guys playing on the perimeter and everyone shooting threes and everything. And I told you, it all goes in cycles, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get some young guy is going to come in there and he's just going to shoot like 70, 75% in the post. Because here's what fans don't understand. The NBA decides the rules of the day, right? But they don't determine the growth. They don't determine the development of the day. And what I mean by that is it's a 3-point world now. But eventually you're going to get that guy because as all the offensive players start learning to shoot threes and not playing the post, what you also lose is centers not learning how to defend the post and coaches not learning how to defend the post with their defensive strategies. It becomes a lost art. When you get to that point, you're going to get a 7-footer with big hands and a 40-inch vertical leap who is going to say, well, I'm just going to stand down here and just take a drop step, jump real high, and drop it in the basket. And the guy covering me isn't going to know what to do because he spent the last 12 years in AAU in his 1 year of college learning how to shoot threes. And someone's going to come in like a Kareem clone and is just going to shoot 75% from the field from 2. He's going to shoot 80% from the free throw line, and it's all going to start turning around the other direction. Because it's all averages. Why did it become a 3-point world? Because people figured out that if you shoot 33% from 3, it's the same as shooting 50% from 2. Which is not entirely correct, but that's the simple math that most people go by. Okay,
Yeah.
well, if you get somebody that's shooting 75% from 2, you can't match that in threes. No one shoots threes at a high enough clip to equal a 75% from 2.
I got a question for you about this because I asked somebody. I said, why aren't people training it more? And their reasoning was, and I don't think this to be true, but I want to get your opinion on it. They said that it's easier to play post defense against a post player versus doing the playing the perimeter defense. Now, or that it's just easier to keep them limited to that kind of percentage for it to be not as effective as shooting threes. My immediate thought on that is that defense. Now, again, it depends on the person. It depends on a lot of things. But defense is a reactionary skill, and it's not all reactionary, of course. But there's proactive things you do where you can guess where somebody's going. But the point of it is that you're not in control of how you're not determining how the play is evolving. You're trying to stop. You're trying to reduce or disrupt how the play is evolving, or stop the play and get possession of the ball again. So, what do you think about that? That it's defense, post defense is easier to be good at than post offense.
I understand what they're saying. Let me see if I can explain it to you in a different way. Here's what they're trying to say. On the perimeter, you're dealing with time and space. Right?
Yeah.
If you're in the post and you're passing to a cutter, that's an 8-foot pass. An 8-foot pass, your defender can get his hand in. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's only 8 feet. You're talking about the defender is also the tallest guy on the team if he's the post defender. So he can get his hand in that passing lane. When you're making passes on the perimeter, you're talking 15-foot passes, cross-court passes, time and space. Defenders have too much area to cover to defend the area. Right? More open. It's like trying to tackle a fullback at the goal line. You're tackling him. Right? Like when they hand the ball off to the fullback at the 2-yard line, he's getting hit. The only question is he going to fall over the line or not? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. You give the ball to Barry Sanders at the 40 in a spread offense, well, he may not get touched. Time and space.
Yeah.
It eliminates skill. Time and space. You don't have to be as good because you have space on your side. If you're playing Michael Jordan and you get the pass and he's 15 feet away from you, you can score, even though it's Michael Jordan. Because physics, he's just too far away from you to get to it. So it's essentially an open shot. Whereas if you get the ball, you're a center. If you get the ball against Michael Jordan in the post, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing, because of time and space. The advantage a defender has in the post is the offensive player is not leaving the post. He's not cutting from the deep corner out to the top of the key to receive a pass. He's in the post. The most he's going to do is go from one block to the other. He's staying in the post. You don't have to chase him. You know where he's going. That's number one. Number two, the rules are against him. You can run around the three-point line all you want. You can hop, skip, jump, do whatever you want, moonwalk, whatever. You can't stay in the lane as an offensive player for more than 3 seconds. So he has an extra defender right there because you just can't camp down low. There are rules to prevent you from doing that have been in the game for 75 years. So he is correct, but it's not a skill-based assessment. It's how the rules are. It's time and space, and it's the fact that there's a penalty area in the post that hinders the offensive player. what would actually be the best thing for the NBA going forward? And I just thought of this, and your question right there just made me think of it. If it's going to be a 3-point league, if everyone's chucking threes, get rid of the 3-second rule in the lane.
Yeah. Or maybe have another 3-second violation on the perimeter on the opposite side of it.
Don't give the refs more to call.
No, I agree.
You need to get rid of
I'd rather the other
25%
way.
of the rules as it is.
Yeah. I agree. I'd rather there be less calls for it. I'm just saying that's another question. That's another answer to it.
Get rid of the 3-second rule. The 3-second lane. Best thing that you could do in modern basketball.
Yeah. I think so. I think that's a good idea. Because it's so polarizing now. Open it up where you can actually play the whole court.
But the one thing I would love to get rid of, the one thing that should be banned throughout all of basketball, you should be kicked out of the sport, out of ever talking about it. You should be completely shut down from Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, and whatever else there is out there. If you say that any player from any year in the past would average 50 today, you should just not be allowed to ever speak about basketball ever again.
Why do you say nobody could average 50?
Stupid. That is the second most overused phrase in all of society. Behind it hits different. Those are the two most stupid and overused comments in society. First of all, there is no one you can name in the history of basketball that would average 50 today. Jordan isn't averaging 50. Wilt isn't averaging 50. No one's averaging 50. No one's averaging 40 ever. Because it only happened once with one dude when his coach and the team owner conspired in advance to make it happen, and there was no retribution from the league office. That is the only time it's ever happened. No one is ever going to average 40. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. And I can prove it because it's never happened. And it never will. One dude named Wilt is the only one to do either. No one in the history of basketball has averaged 40. No one. And no one ever will.
I think 40 is, I think this is an obvious statement. I think 40 is more realistic than 50.
Not
there have been guys.
It's not happening. It will never happen. It's just as the odds of it are the same as 50. It's 0.
There have been guys that have gotten awfully close lately with the 37, 38 points. But
38 points. Let's take 38.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally as close as you can get, right?
Yeah, I think Harden had 38 something, I think, is for the recent years, yeah.
Okay. And so that's like, well, gee, that's just one more basket away. Okay, well, let's go through that. If you actually look at it from a realistic point of view, I'd have to look to see what his actual stats were that season.
Mm-hmm.
But if we just break it down, and you say, like, the one that always gets me is when they say Jordan, because Jordan averaged 37 point something, right?
I think he averaged over 38 one year. I might be mistaken though.
Or it was like 37.6 or something like that.
I don't remember. I'd have to look again.
But in any case, the dude couldn't play anymore. And he couldn't play any harder. I'm constantly told that Jordan never took a night off. He always was 100%. He killer competitor, all of that stuff. So, okay. So he played as hard as he could play. He played as much as he could play. He didn't take games off. He didn't load manage. So you're not upping his minutes to get the 40. right?
Yeah.
Because he already played at 100%. So all you can say is, okay, to get that extra 3 points, to get over 40, he has to take and make another 3. Okay, well, he didn't even make 1/3 of his threes. Well, let's just say 1/3. So to make that extra 3 points, he has to take 3 more shots. That's 3 more possessions. Now, he scored that in the late 80s when possessions were going down. So adding 3 more possessions is hard. And if he's already playing 100%, to tell the guy that's playing the hardest and doing the most, to then say, okay, you know what? We need you to do it 3 more times than you're already doing it. I know to playground players, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But as someone who has been in the real deal at a much lower level, I admit, yes, you can't do that. It's an unreal and ridiculous ask.
Well, and I might have missed it because I was trying to look up the Michael Jordan numbers. But if you're playing in the NBA, you have to do that 82 times every day,
Yes.
averaging it out.
Yes.
So yeah. So
it's way more than you think. He would have to, by the law of averages, he would have to take 3 more 3-point shots, which he didn't even average taking 3 a game. So he'd have to triple his 3-point output. Okay?
Yeah.
He'd have to triple it. He's not doing that. So he's probably getting it in 2s or on the free throw line. So an extra basket and a free throw. Okay, that means he's getting hit again. Even more than he got hit before.
Yeah.
Okay. 82 times. That means 82 more hits he has to take if he's going to do it with a free throw. If he's going to do it with 3 free throws, then that means he's getting hit at least 2 more times a game. Fouled at least 2 more times. That's 164 more fouls he has to take to get that extra 3 points.
Yeah.
You see, when you actually hear the numbers, you realize it's ridiculous. And what it actually speaks to is how amazing and how just mind-boggling great it was to get to 37.6.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand. It's not knocking down him saying he wouldn't score 50 today, because no one scores 50. It's not happening. It only happened with Wilt, and it was only because it was a conceived plot. You take away that conceived plot, no one in history would have done it. But fans don't look at it. They think I'm just slamming modern players or slamming Jordan or slamming anyone else. No, I understand what it takes. I understand how grueling it is. I understand the numbers. And when you say he could score 50, then what you're saying is he wasn't really trying back when he played, which now you're diminishing your own hero's production.
Yeah.
And that's what blows my mind when people slam Jordan or people slam LeBron or people slam the old guys. It's like, you don't know what you're saying. You just don't understand the numbers. You don't understand what goes into it. To just say, well, he only has to hit 3 more free throws a game. Well, okay, he shot about 75, 80%. So that means he needs to take 4. So that means he either gets fouled so hard that he doesn't finish the shot on 2 shots, or he's getting off-ball fouls and getting 1-and-1s, or you know what I mean? Or ones.
Yeah.
So now you're saying he's going to get hit and fouled 2, 3, 4 more times a game. And he has to do it to get the average. He has to do it for 82 games. So now you're saying the dude's going to get fouled 160 to 100 and basically almost 200 more times, not total, but 200 more fouls than he was already getting hit. And any human being that has actually played will tell you he's going to end up on injured reserve. He's not even going to finish the season, so he's not going to average 40 anyway.
Yeah.
People don't understand what it means to do that. And all they're doing is belittling their own heroes. They're not understanding exactly what it takes to average 35, 36, 37 a game in the NBA in any era. I mean, dude, that is a haul that there have only been 10 to 15 players in history that have had the ability, the durability, the skill, and the mental toughness to even be able to do it. And then only about half of the ones that were able got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what fans don't understand. And that's what aggravates me the most. When I tell someone they don't understand the game, that's what I'm talking about. They don't understand. If they say, oh, so-and-so would average 50, you don't understand basketball. You don't understand the game. And then when you say, oh, well, this former NBA, this Hall of Fame player said that. Yeah, he's trying to blow up his guys. They're loyal. He doesn't really believe it. But he's saying it because it's the same thing when they say, oh, well, Bird called Jordan God in shorts. Yeah, and then he also said Magic was the greatest basketball player he ever saw. You know, now he says LeBron is the greatest basketball player he's ever seen. They say whatever to support whatever agenda they have at the moment. They're all still involved. They're in the fraternity.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to take that with a grain of salt. The reality is what happened is what happened. And you can't use conjecture to say, well, this, like the big one, Lenny Bias, okay? He was the only guy I was ever truly a fan of. I stopped being a fan when he died. I stopped looking at basketball from a fan's perspective after he died. I mean, other than real deaths in my family, that one just hit me in the face, man. And because I used to watch Lenny play in person, you know, and I'm from that area. And everyone talks about, oh, if he hadn't have died, he would have been a league MVP. He would have led the league in scoring. He would have been an all-star. He would have done this. He would have taken over from Bird, which Bird said that. And he would have done, but people don't understand all the other stuff. Well, what happened to Bernard King? Did Bernard King die? No, he blew his knee out.
Yeah.
James Worthy blew his knee out. Kobe and Dominique, blew their Achilles tendons. For all we know, Len Bias could have gotten in with Boston, could have been averaging 16 and 7 as a rookie, playing behind McHale and Bird, and then could have blown out his Achilles tendon.
Yeah.
Could have been contractual issues. They could have traded him to Atlanta for Dominique, and walking across the street from the airport got hit by a bus. I mean, you don't know.
Yeah.
But fans will say, oh, well, if this didn't happen, then all of this history would have changed. Yeah, it might have. It might have. But you know what? Who would Bias have been going against every night?
Michael Jordan.
No, Michael Jordan was a guard. Bias would have been going against Pippen, Dominique, James Worthy, Adrian Dantley, Mark Aguirre. For 1 year, Dr. J. He probably would have been matched up against Barkley because Barkley was able to take bigger men out on the perimeter. So because Bias was a weightlifter, he probably would have ended up covering Barkley. So now he's playing a league MVP. I mean, people, if he were playing, he would have been playing Tom Chambers when Tom Chambers was that guy, unless you live on the West Coast and got to see those Seattle and Phoenix games in the 80s played on TNT at 10 o'clock at night, you don't know. But Chambers, for a few years, for like a 3-year stretch, Chambers was like Bob McAdoo reborn. I mean, he was, these are the guys Clyde Drexler, right? Chris Mullen. These are the guys Bias would have been playing against. So you can't assume that he would have just walked in and started taking MVPs from Jordan. He would have been playing as the younger guy, would have been going in playing against a lot of Hall of Famers. Alex English, Kiki Vandeweghe. He would have been going against all those guys, man, every night. So nothing's a given. None of it.
Yeah, but Rex, people sucked back then. People couldn't play basketball back then like they played it today.
They all can play at the same level. That's what's so funny to me when people say that.
Hey Rex, hey, I gotta get going, but it was fun as usual. I'm gonna be. I'll text you about this otherwise for tomorrow. But are you available tomorrow sometime?
I don't think so, but I'm not certain yet.
You know about Sunday?
No, I do not. I believe Sunday should be okay.
Okay, I'll get with you.
Not totally certain.
Okay, I'll get with you.
Tomorrow is the only nice day coming up where I live. So I'm taking the boys to a park about an hour away from here that we've never been to before.
Gotcha.
It's all planned.
No, I hear you. But I hope you enjoy.
My boys are 5'2" now.
Oh wow! How old are they again?
They turned 11 in November.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my son just got his height done. He's 10. He's 4'11".
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're a big guy.
Yeah.
I mean, my 11-year-olds are now like 6 inches away from me. They're like up to here at 11.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, watch. They're both going to end up being like 6'3" or something like that, and will be absolutely no good at basketball because I'm not teaching them anything.
Yeah.
Joey's a runner, though.
Yeah.
10-year-old's done a marathon.
Yeah, that's super impressive. But Rex, have a great day, sir. Everyone, learn the game.